I'm Sam. This is a Coney 2012 poster behind me, and this is Sam Stacks, a channel where I talk about books, pop culture, and nostalgia, just generally anything that I find interesting. So if this sounds like it's up your alley, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll see every time I post a new video. So if there's one item that really encapsulates my middle school experience, it's the Vera Bradley bag. You couldn't walk down the hallway without seeing at least like a half dozen of these. If you didn't have the backpack, you had a lanyard or a pencil case or a lunchbox in some color or pattern that had come out recently. It was, like, in general, a must-have item and brand. It was a status symbol. For me, it didn't help that the headquarters of Vera Bradley is in my hometown, so many of the girls that I went to school with, who always had the latest and greatest that was coming out of that company, were related to people that worked for it. I was all over and fully bought into the Vera Bradley craze. I didn't have the ultimate marker of coolness when I was in middle school, the backpack, but I finally actually did get one of them about a year ago for $60 on sale for like an end of the year sale that they were having on their website. Every year I always went and got like a new lanyard to hang my school ID on and wear it around, you know, so you have like your lunch card and your library card, and it's like, oh, I have a lanyard. I'm so fancy. I'm so official. I have a Vera Bradley lanyard. And like every year for a couple of years straight, I would beg my grandparents for like a cheapish, which saying it's Vera Bradley, like it's not cheap, but like a cheaper like wallet or purse or like some kind of accessory from them. So love them or hate them, today I'm going to be talking about Vera Bradley. I'll go over the history of the brand. I'll talk about some controversies both from the brand and other people. And I'm going to go over just like the general aesthetic and trends of Vera Bradley and go over some of the patterns that I remember from my middle school days and give them a score of out of 10. So let's get going. So according to the Vera Bradley website, the founders, who were friends and neighbors, Barbara Bradley Bakegard, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Patricia R. Miller, started the company in 1982 after taking a trip together and realizing that all of the bags that they were seeing in the airport were like boring, plain-colored black bags. So they instantly noticed a hole in the market for more feminine, colorful bags that would appeal to women. So the pair borrowed $500 from their husbands and started the company in one of their basements using a ping pong table as a workplace and their home phone as a business phone. Barbara and her husband had a wallpaper hanging business at this time, so she was able to know what kind of patterns were popular and appealing and in style, and then she applied that knowledge to the sorts of fabrics that they chose to make their bags out of. So Barbara and Patricia decided to produce quilted cotton bags that used trendy patterns, and they basically wanted to create a company that would appeal to women of all ages, from like middle schoolers like I was, all the way to grandmothers who might want to have a fun bag to carry around. In more recent years, they sell things like clothing, home goods, jewelry, glasses, and have definitely expanded their line a lot more past just handbags. Like I said, a big item when I was in middle school, so around 2010 to 2013, was the Vera Bradley backpack. And of course, if you had to have that, you had to have the matching lunchbox too, and the pencil case, and the lanyard, and everything else to go with that. As you might have noticed, neither of the founders are Vera Bradley, so that's because the company itself is named after Barbara Bradley Bakegard's mother, whose name obviously is Vera Bradley, and Vera worked as a model for the cosmetics company Elizabeth Arden. As you can tell, she was like really, really pretty. She's basically served as a model of like femininity and poise for the company. After their first year in business, the company made about $10,000, and by their third year of business, they were making about $1 million in sales in a year. As of 2015, and seemingly, as far as I can find, about every year since, the company's been making about $500 million per year. Vera Bradley, the company, is also known for its work in raising money for breast cancer research and services for breast cancer patients and survivors after one of Barbara and Patricia's friends passed away from it. They have special collaborations with different organizations who are working to find a cure, and the company also has a charity golf outing every year with the goal of raising money for breast cancer research. It's estimated as of 2022 that the company has raised over $23 million to donate towards the cause. Vera Bradley opened its first retail store in 2007 and now has over 50 locations across the US. Recently, one of the founders, Barbara, started a hotel in Fort Wayne, Indiana called the Bradley, where you can stay in rooms that are clearly influenced by the Vera Bradley aesthetic. She is no longer in charge of the company, though she does still have a 7% stake in it. And the creative direction and general C-suite operations have been turned over to a new generation. I'm happy to say that Vera Bradley has actually avoided a lot of major controversies or scandals that have affected other brands of their size and prominence. The biggest issues that I found coming from the brand revolve around a marketing campaign that they did a couple of years ago, and then connections with a franchise that has found some controversy itself because of the person who started it. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean, and we'll get there in a second. So first, in 2016, Vera Bradley launched an online campaign using the hashtag "It's good to be a girl." So this campaign was called out fairly quickly because of how reductive it was, and how it relied on a lot of stereotypes about women, which isn't necessarily great when that's your target demographic. So they used a lot of benefits to being a girl, such as being able to order a fancy coffee. Anyone can get soy milk in their coffee, I don't have to show my ID for that. And I quote, "living longer, smelling nicer, and paying less for car insurance." What the actual fuck is that? I don't think it's necessarily offensive or anything. I just think it's plain weird that this is what they chose to go with and put out there. Intersectionality aside, I don't think any of those perks are across the board for anyone. It just it really screams 2012, 2014 hashtag just girly things on Tumblr. And this one, getting first dibs on lifeboats. I'm just gonna leave that one there. Honestly, I don't really want to unpack that, but that one is actually kind of messed up. Vera Bradley has also had a collaboration in the past with Harry Potter, which isn't great considering J.K. Rowling's issues. I don't necessarily know if this is an ongoing collaboration, but I could see this being something that they launch new items to occasionally. I don't necessarily blame the brand for going after Harry Potter adults, just like they go after Disney adults with their Disney line. I mean, they are a marketable demographic, no matter how cringy they are, and this is a company, so what do we expect, I would like to see them not necessarily work with a franchise that has as many issues and a distasteful reputation as the Harry Potter one does. Vera Bradley also had some issues with other companies and scammers stealing their patterns and designs. Most notably, I think, that I could find was Target in 2006. I'm sure there have been other lawsuits with companies because it is fairly easy for somebody to manufacture their own patterned quilted cotton bags and items. And Vera Bradley, since they have such a wide range of patterns, I think it would be fairly difficult to come up with something original that doesn't at least bear some kind of passing semblance to something that they've put out in the past. Okay, Okay, so picture one of those like web maps where there's like bubbles and like lines connecting thoughts and like, you know, things are grouped together according to like subcategories. Vera Bradley for me exists, let's say on this figurative map, in some area like far off with Lily Pulitzer and Vineyard Vines, in that like preppy kind of like coastal aesthetic, even though it's a company like from Indiana. I think it still like fits in that general feel. Barbara herself acknowledged to CNN in 2022 that she sees a link with other brands like Lily Pulitzer and Laura Ashley through her Florida roots. So she definitely was like at least unconsciously influenced by both brands' bright and colorful patterns. I was in middle school from about 2010 to 2013, so I'm sure many other elder Gen Zs remember a time when there was like this attempted like preppy fashion, chevron, chunky necklaces, that weird like Tiffany blue and coral pattern, and like colored jeans, like when that was just absolutely everywhere. I'm going to go over some popular patterns that I also remember being everywhere at that time. So Vera Bradley on their website actually has an archive of all of their old patterns, and you can scroll through and like see which ones you remember. I'll put a link to this page in my source document, and I'm going to rank these patterns from a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being like, bleh, and 10 being, please wallpaper every room in my house in this pattern, please. Thank you. So I'm going to start with what is still my absolute favorite pattern to this day. So you know what my standards are. So Viva La Vera debuted in summer 2011. I think the first purse that I actually got and carried around regularly was in this pattern. I also definitely had a school lanyard in this. I give it a 9 out of 10 though because it has a big white background to it, and that did get nasty pretty quick. I think it would have been better if they chose a different color, maybe like a light blue or something to go in the background, but I love it. It's adorable, and I love that like folk art sort of aesthetic, and I would love to have this as a wallpaper like on an accent wall in my future house somewhere. Next, I'm going to lump the pink and green cupcakes and Bali blue together because they give me the same vibe. These were released in spring and summer of 2009, so a little bit before I was in middle school, but I remember a lot of people having these on backpacks and school accessories. I'm imagining people got it like before the school year started or like at the end of their like 5th grade year, so that would make sense why it was around so much still. Both patterns were so popular and basically inescapable, and I think they're like safe and kind of boring. I have a mug actually in the Bali blue pattern that I have at work, and I don't think I'd be that upset if somebody like walked away with it someday. So I give these all a 5 out of 10. In addition to that coral and Tiffany blue phase that I talked about earlier, pink and brown was definitely having a moment in the early 2010s. I know I liked that color combo, and I don't necessarily like it that much anymore. So Carnaby is one of the patterns that use that color scheme, but it has some like nice orangey yellows thrown in to break it up. I don't remember this being a big pattern for things like backpacks, but I do remember it on a lot of purses. Overall, I give it a 6 out of 10. It's kind of meh, but I do like that it broke away a little bit more from that standard pink and brown. Fall 2010's Hello Dahlia and summer 2010's Make Me Blush look super similar to me. The color scheme on both of them is nearly identical, but the pattern is a bit more zoomed in on Hello Dahlia. I remember both of these being big for backpacks and like other school accessories, and they're nice. They've aged okay. I think they wouldn't necessarily be out of place in Vera Bradley's like current line, but they're still like kind of boring. I give them a 6 out of 10. Now, spring 2011's Boysenberry was it. Like, it was so bright, and it has that, like, classic paisley design. I have a giant duffel bag in this pattern, and it's in print, and, like, it's still something that I regularly use because it's also, like, held up so well. That's another thing about Vera Bradley. Like, the quality is there. And this one's a crowd pleaser, so I give her a 9 out of 10. So I remember Folkloric from spring 2011 also being everywhere, like on backpacks and stuff, and it's nice. It's a little too yellow, but I guess that kind of makes me hypocritical when it comes to Viva La Vera because I said that was too white. But I don't like it having a yellow background because it looks like kind of old and musty. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Whatever. I make the rules here. Honestly, I think this one is just like a classic Vera Bradley. And I think it and Viva La Vera should have had a name swap because this one looks more like a Viva La Vera in that it's like that classic Vera Bradley. And I think Viva La Vera looks more like a folkloric, like as a name. So for this one, I give it an 8 out of 10. Mocha Rouge from fall 2011 is up next, and I have another duffel bag in this pattern. So my mom and I actually both got our duffel bags before we went on a trip when I was in like 8th grade. So I have both of those duffel bags now. I use both of them pretty regularly, and this one was mine originally. The boysenberry one was my mom's. I like this one. It still falls into that brown and pink color scheme. But I like the flowers on this one more than Carnaby, and I like that it has a lot of white, but like not too much. Like, I know I'm having an issue here with like saying that things have too much white on them and then liking that other ones have white. This is my game, I make up the rules, okay? So this one, yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. So this color scheme is a blast from the past. So when I got to redo my room from like the little girl ballerina theme that I had when I was like a little kid, I chose this blue and green color scheme that was absolutely everywhere, like unavoidable. But I honestly don't remember seeing this particular pattern a lot of places. Maybe it like wasn't as popular on like clothing and accessories as it was in like interior design. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it that much. I think it's a cute pattern, and I think it's kind of similar to Mocha Rouge, just with like heavier drawn lines, like thicker lines around the flowers. And even though it's kind of that dated color scheme, I still like it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So fall 2012's Paisley Meets Plaid to me is the one that seems really dated. So I remember seeing this one everywhere. This was a big backpack, lunchbox, whatever pattern. But there's so much going on here. I mean, it's got Paisley and plaid, and it's got that in the name, like you know what you're getting into here. And I do remember it being popular, like I said, but it doesn't do much for me, so I give it a 3 out of 10. Spring 2013's Midnight Blues is actually really pretty though. I like that the flowers aren't outlined. I think it gives it more of like an abstract look to it. I'm not a huge fan of the darker color palette, but it is called Midnight Blues. But I do like the general colors used here. So I give this one another 7 out of 10. So we're gonna finish up with my second favorite pattern here. So this is Heather from fall 2013. Yes, it's way too busy. Yes, it's dated and kind of tacky with that purple and tealish green color combo. But you know what was also kind of tacky in 2013? Yours truly. And I'm proud of it. So this one gets a 9 out of 10 from me. So that's it. Those are the patterns that I'll go over for today. So that's the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Vera Bradley pattern was, and if you had or really wanted any items in middle school in certain patterns. All of the sources that I used for the creation of this video are linked in my master doc below. Please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button to keep seeing more of my future content. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye! give them a score of out of 10.